As you remember, I came and had a meeting in your office in May, and I gave you a very personal account on how mental health was affecting young people in Scotland. If you're as passionate as you say you are about mental health, why did you and your party abstain against a vote for a mental health counsellor in every school after I gave you such an in-depth personal account, and it got passed due to the Tories and Labour?
Well, firstly, I remember you coming to meet me, and what you told me had a profound impact on me. Sometimes, and I know this is difficult to understand, sometimes votes in Parliament, they're about the moment in time. So if we're working towards something, sometimes you can't always support a particular motion there and then. Last week, as you might or might not have heard, we've announced a quite ambitious plan to increase the provision of counselling in schools, because, as we were talking about earlier on, that's really important for young people who need that support, but it also will help young people if they get that support early and perhaps prevent them needing more specialist care. So I don't want you to think that what you told me hasn't had an impact on the work we've been doing. In fact, it's had a very direct impact on some of the most recent announcements that we've made around how we improve mental health care for young people.
But in terms of an abstention on a vote, I mean, we've got children and young adults here aged from very young to very... It's difficult to understand how you can abstain from something that you say you're supporting.
It is difficult to understand, but one of the things that I believe really strongly when I'm talking to young people is that I don't oversimplify things for young people, because I think that insults the intelligence of young people. And sometimes, there are votes in Parliament that for a particular reason, because we've maybe not completed the work we need to do. One of the things that's important for politicians, and we don't always, including me and my party, we don't always get this right, is if you're going to make a commitment, you want to make sure you've done the work to deliver on that commitment, rather than just say it because it's the easy thing to do at the time and then let people down because you don't deliver. So sometimes these things are difficult sometimes for adults to understand that, but I believe in politicians, and I try my best to practice this, is having an honest conversation with people about the difficult decisions that sometimes you have to make in government and the work you have to do to turn promises into reality. So we've been doing a lot of work around mental health. We've been doing a lot of work around children and adolescent mental health services. So that's what meant that last week we could make a commitment around school counselling and community mental health services, because we know we've got the work and the resources in place to actually deliver that. And that, at the end of the day, is what really matters to people.
Well, if your party and yourself didn't vote for it, why did you mention earlier on in the first question that this is what was taking place, even though you didn't support it?
Because at that point we hadn't done the work and the preparation to put it into practice. We have now, so we are now putting into practice plans to increase. So last week we announced plans that are going to increase counsellors across the schools, but 350 counsellors working across schools, so that all secondary schools will have access to counselling services. We've announced the money that's going to pay for that. And that's, it's easy, and politicians, including myself, do this. It's easy to make the commitments. What you've got to do is make sure you've done the work to deliver on those commitments. And that's what we've now done, and that's why we've made that commitment.
Okay, I think this raises quite an important point. And we talk about young people and children, but it goes for adults as well. Politicians seem to say one thing and not act on it.
But that's what I'm saying. That if we'd voted for that motion before we'd done the work to know we could deliver it, we would be guilty of what you're accusing us of taking the easy option.
In terms of perception, First Minister, do you think that sometimes politics gets in the way of getting things done?
Oh, it does a lot of the time, but I suppose what I'm trying to explain here, and I know it's not always easy to understand, is that voting for something in Parliament is, can often be the easy part of what you do. And if you do that without knowing that you can deliver something, you're not doing anybody any favours or treating people with proper respect. So you do the work and then you say, we will deliver this, rather than just say for political reasons, yeah, we'll vote for this because it's the easy thing to do, even although privately we know we haven't done the work to know whether we can deliver. And that's a harder conversation to have with people sometimes, but I think it's the more honest conversation. And one of the things that I think we need to do starting with young people, is have those honest conversations about, you know, all of the things that we all believe we want to do. But for me as First Minister, to be honest with you about some of the hard work and hard decisions we've got to make to deliver these. And you know, if this focus on young people's voices is to mean what I want it to mean, I think me being prepared to sit in front of an audience of young people and actually be frank and honest about some of the challenges we face is part of that. Rather than just telling you all what you want to hear and then leaving this room knowing that I can't fulfil these promises. So it might make it tougher sometimes, but I think it's a far better conversation for us to be having.